Welcome back, everybody, to the New York Knicks MyNBA franchise here on NBA 2K23. Today we will be wrapping up the offseason as we go through free agency, along with everything afterwards leading up to the regular season, which will kick off in the next episode. So last time around, we went through the NBA draft, and we made some pretty big decisions regarding our team's future. In case you missed the episode, I'll leave a card at the top right so you can check it out. We were presented with the choice of either keeping the number one pick or trading it for a star. Ultimately, we decided to package the number one pick to the Minnesota Timberwolves to acquire Anthony Edwards. He is a 24-year-old ascending superstar in this league, and I think him and Jason Tatum can absolutely be the duo of the future. We gave Minnesota a lot of pieces: Coco Diablo, Ahmed Kabongo, Patrick Feinstein, Alexander Killebrew, and the number one pick, which was eventually used on Greek big man Apollo Thanopoulos. The rest of the draft was pretty exciting as well. Our New York Knicks acquired the 8th overall pick, packaging R.J. Barrett in a 3-team deal to the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans sent Raymond Robinson to the Spurs, and the Spurs sent the pick to us. R.J. Barrett has been on our team during the entire series. He's been a Knick for the last 7 years, but with his contract up after next year, I wasn't really sure he was a guy I wanted to pay long term. We drafted Buddy Johnson, a talented wing out of the University of Florida. Johnson had no business falling out of the top 5, so for him to fall there, it was an easy decision to go up and get him. With our other pick, 30th overall, we selected Isu Odu, a wing from Egypt. I did not think he was going to make it that far and was pleasantly surprised to see him on the board with the 30th pick. We made another big decision in the last episode as well. So with us trading away guys like Coco, Kabongo, Feinstein, and Killebrew to Minnesota, not to mention they acquired Splash Mayo as well. They acquired all of these former New York Knicks, and I still want to see how these guys progress. So what I have decided to do is not only watch their development, but actively participate in it. We will be using the Minnesota Timberwolves in this series going forward, along with the New York Knicks. It seemed like there was mostly positive feedback about me using both teams. It does seem like some people were a little bit skeptical of the idea, which is totally understandable. I completely get it. But I will rehash some things before we start with free agency and whatnot. So just because we're using the Timberwolves does not mean we're going to be doing stuff with the Knicks and the Timberwolves evenly. This is still the Knicks series. This is still about them. However, we have the core of the Knicks roster pretty much finalized. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to have a Minnesota team who is still rebuilding. They've got a lot of our young guys throughout this series, and I want to be able to actively participate in that team's development. So again, it's not going to be a 50-50 thing. It's going to be more like 75-25 or 80-20 in favor of the Knicks. This episode will feel like 50-50 because we're going through both teams' free agencies. Next episode will probably feel like 50-50 as well because I'm going to play both teams' season openers. But after that, we will put a majority of our focus onto the New York Knicks. Another thing I want to mention, just because we're now going to be using 2 teams, it does not mean that seasons will go longer. If anything, how I kind of have it mapped out in my head, I think we'll be able to get through more seasons. The eventual goal will be having both teams meet up in the NBA Finals. I think that would be super cool. But since Minnesota and, who knows, maybe the Knicks are still a little ways away from that, I do want to be able to get through as many seasons as possible. So I'm going to try to get through seasons faster now, which I think will make things more fun. So again, if you guys have any more questions regarding the Timberwolves being our new side piece for this series, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm happy to answer. And as we go throughout the season, if you guys really are not enjoying the Timberwolves aspect of this series, I don't have to keep doing it. I'm going to try to experiment with it early in the season, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. But I think it's going to ultimately be really fun. So let's go into free agency itself now, starting with the team and player options. We have a lot of team options for both teams, and I'm going to accept all of them. Jimmy Butler is the big name here whose player option is declined. Most of the options around the league, however, ended up being accepted. So as we go into free agency, I'm going to try to organize this in a way that we can follow both teams pretty easily. Rather than just going day by day, I'm going to show each team one at a time. So we're going to start with the Knicks. We're going to go through their entire free agency, and then we're going to do the same thing with Minnesota. So let's start here with the New York Knicks. We've got our second star with Anthony Edwards, so we don't have to worry about going after a big fish here in free agency. But we still need to be smart with how we spend our money. Anthony Edwards is on a player option for next year. I assume he would decline it, so he will probably be a free agent next summer. And we've got a number of young guys who will eventually be off the books pretty soon, including Reddish and DeCarlo. Jarrett Allen is a free agent this summer. And we had an opportunity to draft an elite center prospect #1 overall. Not only did we pass on that, but we also traded away Ahmed Kabongo. So I feel like that should kind of signal that Jarrett Allen is going to be sticking around, hopefully. The plan is that we will offer him a multi-year extension as soon as free agency opens. I'm also going to try to fill out the rest of the roster with depth players, good shooters, good defenders. We have plenty of talented guards. Keep in mind, I want to have Anthony Edwards play at the 2. We might try to add some more size down low along with Jarrett Allen. So I think that'll be the plan. Let's take a look at this free agency class, and it's a pretty good one, led by Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry, both of whom are unrestricted. Other big names include Chet Holmgren, who leads the way for the restricted free agents, Jimmy Butler, Robert Williams, Jaren Jackson, Bam Adebayo, and more. So as I said, going into free agency, the #1 priority will be re-upping Jarrett Allen. As it stands now, we have negative $1.83 million in cap space, but we have Jarrett Allen on bird rights, so that means we can offer him despite the fact that we're in the negative. We can also offer him up to 5 years. I would rather not do that. So we're going to do a 3-year deal with a team option for the 3rd year for around $22 million a season, pretty much the same amount of money he was making prior. I would think Keegan Murray would be a good fit for our roster. I've had my eye on him for quite a while. He's a good shooter, versatile defender, good playmaker, high IQ player. Now, there's one problem with Keegan Murray, and that's that I don't think we're going to have enough money. He's asking for around 13 a season, which is a total bargain, but we can't afford that. So I'm going to offer him 1 year for a little bit over 6. I know he's probably not going to take it, but it's worth a shot. The last player we're going to offer here in stage 1 is Ochai Agbaji. I think he would be a good fit as a 3-and-D wing, and as a diehard Kansas basketball fan, I feel compelled to bring my guy in. Ochai has been with the Jazz and the Sixers over the last few years. He only played 39 games this year as he suffered a pretty big injury, but I think he will be good going into this season. So we're going to give him a 1-year deal for $4.69. Nice. As we simulate through stage 1, we would get the good news for Jarrett Allen and Ochai Agbaji both, except Keegan Murray isn't even on the pending offers, so there's no way we're going to get him for that short deal. So because of that, we are going to accept Allen and Ochai, and that is all we're going to do here in free agency with the New York Knicks. We did what we needed to. We brought back Jarrett Allen. We added some depth with Ochai Agbaji, and I think this is what the roster will look like going into season number 5. We're going to have to figure out who's going to play the 4. It can't really be Royster because he's the backup center, so we're going to have to figure that out. Now let's take a look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. I never properly did a roster breakdown in the last episode because we were kind of in a rush with the draft and whatnot. So we're going to do that right here. And as we look at the salary cap situation, the team is in the hole for a lot of money, but we don't have a lot of guys on big deals. Other than Splash Mayo and Apollo Thanopoulos, there aren't many long-term deals here, so we do have quite a bit of financial flexibility. Rudy Gobert is a free agent. I don't think we're going to bring him back. Anthony Simons is a free agent. I don't think we're going to bring him back. I would rather build around the young guys that we already have currently on the roster. Rudy Gobert massively regressed from last season, and I don't think he's going to be getting any better. With the addition of both Apollo Thanopoulos and Ahmed Kabongo, it would be pretty pointless to keep him. As for Anthony Simons, he was acquired at the trade deadline from the Clippers. We just don't really need him. I want Coco Diablo to be the point guard of this team going forward, so there's just not really a spot for Simons. Jared Butler, J.R. Johnson, Isaiah Mobley, Norman Powell, those guys are our other 3 agents. I think Johnson's a player I might want to bring back, but everybody else I don't really care about. So this is what the roster currently looks like going into free agency, and this team has some nice pieces. There are some good young guards with Fields, Corbett, Diablo, Mayo, the young guys behind them. As I said just a moment ago, I think Coco Diablo will be the point guard of this team. And then we've got guys like Alonso Corbett and Splash Mayo who will both be able to start at the 2. Neither of them are great defenders, though, so we're going to definitely prioritize perimeter defense here in this free agency. Skylar Fields, the point guard, is going to be a good depth piece. He's not a good scorer, but he is a good defender and playmaker. We have no small forwards on the roster and really lack wings. At the 4, we have Jaden McDaniels and Patrick Feinstein. Obviously, we know Feinstein pretty well. He's been with the Knicks the last 3 years. He's been a high-energy scorer off the bench. Pretty solid defensive player. And then there's Jaden McDaniels, who's one of the best defensive players in the league. I think he's more equipped to play the small forward over Feinstein, but McDaniels is such a good interior defender, I would rather have him at the 4. And then Shamari Porter's an interesting name to watch, but clearly we need a true small forward. And then we've got Thanopoulos and Kabongo as the centers. I don't think we need to add any bigs. I think both of those two guys are just fine as they are. We're going to try to figure out throughout this season if Thanopoulos and Kabongo can actually play with each other. Pause. That sounds weird out of context. So again, same free agency class as the Knicks, obviously. And we have negative $108 million. But not for long. We've got 3 players on bird rights, so if we remove those bird rights, we're going to be able to get a lot of money. We have over $140 million in cap holds, so if we renounce the rights on all of these guys, check this out. Gobert's deal, no more. Simons, no more. That's $100 million cleared up. Norman Powell's another 30. And with that, we now have $47 million. That is enough for a max contract slot. But here's the thing. We play in Minnesota. We're not signing any of these max players. So instead, we're going to look for young, talented role players. And I think AJ Griffin would be a good fit. He has spent the last 2.5 seasons with the Clippers. Last year, he averaged career highs in multiple categories. He's a great shooter. He's a good defender, and he's versatile on that end of the floor. I think he'd be a good fit as our starting small forward. I'm going to give him a 1-year deal with a team option for the second season for $15 million total. He's going to be the only player I offer in stage 1. I thought about Jaren Jackson, but his offensive numbers have regressed recently, and I would rather just stick it out with Jaden McDaniels and Patrick Feinstein at the 4. So I simulated day 1, and AJ Griffin would accept. So he's going to be our starting small forward next season. We still need to add more perimeter defense pretty badly, and I think Luguentz Dort would be a good fit. He's been with the Baltimore Red Tails the last 2 years. Before that, he was with Oklahoma City. He's not a great offensive player, but he is a monster defensively. There's a reason why they call him the Dorcher Chamber. We're also going to offer guard Jackson Watkins a deal. We know him from the Knicks. He was in the Jared Allen trade with Cleveland. He's a really good passer, really good defender as well. We're bringing the whole band back together. All these former Knicks joining each other here in Minnesota. Both players would accept, and that's all we're going to do here in free agency with Minnesota. So this is what the roster will look like going into the season. We've got all of our former Knicks. We did what we needed to here in free agency. We had to add perimeter defense, and that we did with Jackson Watkins, AJ Griffin, and Luguentz Dort. Going into the offseason, this team was dreadful defensively, and now they look pretty good, which is exciting. So I simulated the final day of free agency. Let's take a look at what happened around the rest of the league. There was some movement. Kevin Durant, I thought, was not going to go back to Phoenix, but he is for 2 years. So I guess their thought process is, let's try to run it back one more time. Steph re-ups with Golden State. Jimmy Butler signs with the Jazz. He would be psycho enough to do that. They also signed De'Aaron Fox as well. Clearly, players want to play with Christopher Killebrew, and this Utah Jazz team looks pretty good. I can't lie. The next big change is Robert Williams. He signs with the Toronto Raptors. Toronto is building themselves a squad, I can't lie. And that's not good for the Knicks, considering we had their first-round pick. Rudy Gobert and Anthony Simons leave Minnesota, and they both signed with the Boston Celtics. The Celtics lost their 2 stalwarts, Robert Williams and Marcus Smart, so those are their replacements. Boston's roster is pretty bad, but they made it to the finals last year, so who's to say they can't do it again? Wendell Carter Jr. signs with Toronto as well. The Raptors have a really interesting team. It's a big roster with Robert Williams, Wendell Carter, Scotty Barnes, and Franz Wagner. This just feels like a Masai Ujiri team. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but with the amount of size and length this team has, it has Masai Ujiri's footprint written all over it. And again, it's kind of unfortunate because we had their draft pick this year, and I think they're going to end up being pretty good. We talked about De'Aaron Fox in Utah. That team's going to be nice. The Kings signed Miles Bridges. They also brought back Keegan Murray, so I don't know how that's going to work. D'Angelo Russell signs with Miami Heat after drafting 6 guards. They had another one. Marcus Smart to Sacramento. Mitchell Robinson, a former Knick, is a Seattle Sonic. Johnny Davis signs with the Milwaukee Bucks. He's actually pretty good in this series. Jalen Brunson to the Pacers. Julius Randle back to the Heat. That's odd. If you remember, we traded him to the Heat. Then he ended up in Phoenix, and now he's back in Miami, which is kind of weird, but okay. Jalen Duren to the Bulls. Wow, I think the Pistons are really going to regret that. So the Bulls let go of Mitchell Robinson, but they honestly upgrade with the addition of Jalen Duren. Both the Knicks and the Timberwolves will get their guys back on qualifying offers, and that'll bring us into the player progression stage. Let's take a look at which guys ended up going up. I feel like it didn't really go very well for the Knicks. Jason Tatum goes down 2. DJ Ramses stays pat. He's still only a 78. That's not good. We do have some good news, though. Cesar DiCarlo goes up 3. He is now an 85. I think DiCarlo's development early in his career was kind of halted by his injuries, but since he was able to stay healthy this year, he gets a big boost. Rock Khalif Doumbou and Zachariah Royster go up quite a bit, along with the other young guys as well, although Ochai Agbaji does go down 1. As for Minnesota, I have much more good news. Diablo is now an 82. He's going to be so good here in Minnesota. Kabongo goes up 2. Skylar Fields goes up 3. Mayo goes down 1. That's a little bit weird, as does Killebrew. I don't get what that's about, but okay. So let's now take a look at Summer League. I'm going to try to move here pretty quickly. This is what the Knicks roster looks like. I feel like DJ Ramses kind of has something to prove after not getting better at all. And the Timberwolves, meanwhile, have a super team with Diablo and Thanopoulos. So we will simulate to the playoffs. The Timberwolves are the 8 seed. They ended up going undefeated, while the Knicks are the 15 seed. They went 2-1. Buddy Johnson, the rookie, led the Knicks in scoring. Ramses only averaged 12-4. He did not do well. He did worse than he did in the regular season, which is weird. As for Minnesota, Thanopoulos was very good. Diablo averaged 16, 8, and 6. Diablo won the Summer League's regular season MVP, which is very well deserved because he did phenomenally for Minnesota. So we're going to simulcast the playoff games for both teams. We'll start with the Knicks. They are facing off against the Seattle Sonics, of course, our MyNBA team last year. And the Knicks take care of business, winning by 30. Isu Odu with 18-7, leading the way. Good to see him performing well. Let's check in on Minnesota. They're playing against the Orlando Magic here in the first round, and the Timberwolves go out the gates storming. They end up winning 120-101. Diablo and Thanopoulos both played very well per usual, as both teams make it to the second round. Could we see the two teams face off in the semifinals? That'd be pretty cool. So I wanted to change the rotations up a little bit. I wanted to prioritize the good players getting minutes. What I really wanted to do was see what the hell the deal is with DJ Ramses, why he is struggling. This game against the Hawks is really close. We're up by 2 with about a minute to go, and I think I'm going to hop in, try to win the game here ourselves. So there's about 40-some seconds left on the clock. Here comes the Hawks. Nice drive inside from D'Anthony Baker for the layup. No good. Buddy Johnson, the rookie out of Florida, with the stop. The Knicks looking to make a play here. Odu inside for Royster Moister, and he misses the hook shot. The Hawks get the rebound. They call a timeout, and they'll get a shot to tie or win it, and they do tie it. Crispy Beard, the second-round rookie, ties it at 106 with about 4 seconds to go. Ramses, he's having a really good game today. Step back for the win, no good. And we are going to overtime. So we're going to simcast overtime. If it's close, we're going to hop in. And this does appear to be quite close. It seems like we have the slight edge, but we're only up by 2 with about 50 seconds left on the clock. So we will hop in. Can the defense get the stop? Inside. We'll see if the Hawks can score here. They're going to send it over to the big man, Jack Turkey, for 3, and he airballs it. Not a very good shot selection. Knicks win it. New York got fouled a lot over the last 20 seconds or so. That's why I didn't show it. But New York wins this game 124-119, and the dream of having the Knicks and Timberwolves play in the Summer League semifinals is still alive. Let's take a look at the numbers here. DJ Ramses with 29-9, although his efficiency was bad. He shot 1 for 11 from 2. Moussa Diabate with 21, Royster with 14, 13, and 5. The Minnesota game was accidentally simulated. I don't know how that happened, but luckily the Timberwolves won, as they beat OKC by 10. I don't know why Thanopoulos shot 9 threes. That seems pretty stupid. Nonetheless, both teams make the quarterfinals, and if they win in this round, they'll each play each other in the semis. We'll start the Knicks facing off against the Wizards. Really close game. Washington has the slight lead, but they're only up by 3 with 2.5 to go. So we're going to hop in here and try to win this game for the Knicks and punch their ticket to the semifinals to play against, hopefully, Minnesota. Nice pass inside off the pick and roll as Kepri Kane gets the dunk. It'll be interesting to see if Kane can get a bigger role for the Knicks this year. The Wizards respond quickly as Diallo, the 5th overall pick out of the University of Miami, dunks it himself. 104-107, not a lot of time left on the clock. Ramses, his shot no good, but Kane gets the offensive rebound and the putback. Look at Kepri Kane, the glue guy. I think he can be New York's PJ Tucker of sorts, minus, having a little bit of offensive game. There's Ramses for the tie, buries the 3. Knotted up at 109 with about 45 seconds left on the clock. Inside, it's Patrick Baldwin Jr. for the lead, and he got it. Nice shot by Baldwin. The Knicks will look to respond. It's in the hands of Ramses for the lead. No good. Kane with another offensive rebound, and he gets the putback. Knicks tie it at 111. Baldwin has it at the top of the key. It's isolation. Buddy Johnson, the defender. Can the rookie make the play? Baldwin inside, and he is fouled with 2.5 seconds left by Kane. So Patrick Baldwin will go to the line to shoot 2. The first one is good. We'll see if he can sink the second one. The shot from Baldwin is good. Both shots, nothing but net. Didn't even hit the rim. So the Knicks are going to have to get something out quickly. Can they get a good look? Here's Dumbu, open in the corner for the win. No good. And the New York Knicks are eliminated. They fall to the Washington Wizards, 113-111. Rock Khalif Dumbu got an open look in the corner for the win, and he missed it. Royster leads the way. Blaze, Ramses, Kane, Odu, and Buddy also in the double figures. So unfortunately, we will not get the dream of the Knicks playing against the Timberwolves in the semifinals. Let's see if Minnesota can make it there as they play against the 1-seeded Hornets. I don't know why the Hornets are the 1 seed when they lost a game and Minnesota didn't, but okay. Maybe there's a reason why the Hornets are the 1 seed. They get the win. 91-82. The offense kind of struggled other than Coco Diablo. So both Minnesota and the Knicks lose in the quarterfinals, and it's the Wizards who beat the Bulls in the championship. Diallo and Imani Juno lead the way for Washington. Here are your final stats for both teams, starting with the Knicks. I let the game manually do the Summer League rosters, and I've got to say, I was impressed with Moussa Diabate for New York. Maybe he gets a final roster spot. As for Minnesota, it's good to see Thanopoulos and Coco get some chemistry with each other. They're going to be the 2 franchise pieces here in Minnesota, so they better have chemistry. With that, we can simulate to the season. All-Star festivities will be in Brooklyn, and we don't really care about the 2K Hoop Summit because I have not started on the draft class yet. If you would like to make a player for this year's draft class, make sure to go join the Discord server, link in the description. So we have now made it to Season 5 with both the Knicks and the Timberwolves. This is what the Knicks lineup will look like. I wanted to have Edwards at the 2 and Tatum at the 3, but for now, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to start with our best 5 players in the starting lineup, but ideally, I would like to have one of the guards off the bench, Edwards and Tatum move down, and have somebody like Buddy Johnson play the 4. We're going to figure out which players here at the back end of the rotation deserve minutes as well. As for Minnesota, Diablo's running the point. I want to try to figure out the rest of this lineup, who's going to play the 2. For right now, that'll be Splash Mayo. Griffin, McDaniels, and Thanopoulos will round out the rest of the lineup. And again, we'll be trying to figure out which players here at the back end of the rotation will be getting minutes. And we'll be giving all these young guys a good opportunity. So the Knicks opening game is on the road against the Bucks, whose best player is Johnny Davis. In other words, the Bucks suck. Minnesota, meanwhile, will start at home against Cleveland, and we'll be playing both of those games in the next episode. I wanted to look at the schedule to see when the 2 teams played each other. We play on January 16th and March 9th. I plan on playing both of those games, and I think I'm going to use the home team in both of them. I think that's the most fair way to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Again, let me know your feedback on us using 2 teams here. I know it kind of felt 50-50 today, and it's going to be 50-50 in the next episode because we're playing a game for both of them. But again, I promise, most of the focus will be with the New York Knicks. I know it doesn't feel like that currently, but I promise it will be. We'll be getting through seasons faster than we did prior, so I think you guys are going to enjoy the Timberwolves aspect of the series, while the focus obviously still remains with the Knicks. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.